I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and in this video we're going to be bringing you the 2-liter and the 3.6-liter JL out on the trail. What we have here today are my two-door 2-liter turbo JL that I have never had off-road yet, so I'm very excited to be testing that thing out. And over here we have a 3.6-liter 4-door Sahara, and what we're going to be doing is hitting a couple of different obstacles out here designed to show you how these Jeeps work in different RPM ranges. We know that these are going to produce different amounts of horsepower and different amounts of torque because we put both the 2-liter and the 3.6-liter on the rollers and saw what those numbers look like. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, that way you can check out that video. But if you haven't seen it yet, the 3.6-liter made 239 horsepower and 223 foot-pounds of torque, where the 2-liter turbo made 233 horsepower and 270 foot-pounds of torque. So the big difference there is that torque number, 270 foot-pounds out of the 2-liter turbo engine. However, because it is a turbo, we saw that coming in right around that 3,000 RPM range and up, where the power band on the 3.6-liter was a little bit flatter. So I'm very interested to see how that actually plays out on the trail. These Jeeps are both bone stock. We did air down the tires to about 25 PSI and disconnect the factory sway bars, but other than that, completely stock because we wanted to give you a really clear comparison of what these vehicles are unmodified. This Jeep is going to be heavily modified very soon after I start my build. So again, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That way you can follow along with the build. This Jeep is not going to be this small for very long. All that being said, let's hit the trails. So we got our first little shakedown hill. We're in the 3.6-liter here. It's nothing all that crazy, but there's a little bit of a ledge on the right-hand side down toward the bottom, a little bit of a ledge on the left up toward the top. So normally I'm more of a technical wheeler, but I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle. I do wanna feel the engine differences, so I do wanna be using the engine. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle, see if I can get a little bit of a shakedown to see how things feel. Get her in 4 low, put it down into first gear. So let's see how it feels. First little ledge coming up here. No problem there, even giving a little throttle, didn't have a lot of slip. So even giving it a little bit of extra throttle, didn't get a lot of spinning there, but it was a pretty good shakedown. Let's hop in the 2-liter, see how it handles it, and then we'll get down to some hills that are designed to specifically show us some higher RPM and some lower RPM stuff. So here we are now in the 2-liter, going up the same little shakedown obstacle. I haven't had this Jeep off-road, certainly haven't wheeled with this engine, so very excited to see how it feels. I'm gonna give it a little bit of throttle just like before, get a little bit of wheel spin, and see how she takes it. So coming up that, I did give it a little bit more throttle, trying to get a little bit of wheel speed, trying to get the RPMs up a little bit. It really felt like in 4 low in these Jeeps that everything is sort of dumbed down. It's a little bit softer, so we had a little bit of high, a little bit of low. That was a pretty good little shakedown. Now let's move on to the next obstacle where we're gonna stick with something that's a little bit more of that low RPM crawling. Now it's time to hit a much more difficult trail. This is actually a black trail for those of you that aren't familiar. They rate trails here at Roush Creek and a lot of off-road parks just like skiing trails, so you have green, blue, black, red. So this is pretty aggressive, but I think it is going to really show a big difference in engines and in power feeling when you are doing some of that lower speed crawling. So I have Sage out in front of me here giving me a spot because I'm definitely gonna need it going through this. And we're just gonna see how far up this trail we can make it. And here we go, let's get after it. So as with the first hill, it feels like the 3.6-liter does have plenty of power for what we're doing here. These are some pretty big rocks. Pretty much everything I'm coming up to is a pretty aggressive step. We're just taking our time crawling through here, but yeah, it feels good. You give it a little bit of throttle and it seems to get right up and go. This is our first really big step here that we're going to attempt. I have to take it at a bit of an angle because I don't think we have the approach angle here being a stock height Jeep, but we're gonna see. So we've gotten as far as I think we're gonna make it up this black trail, which is pretty much as far as I thought we would get. We just don't quite have the lift or the tire size to make it up this, but what it did do was really show us how much power we have to come up to an obstacle where it's pretty much as big as the front tire is, and in 4 low, give it a little bit of throttle and be able to just pull right up over those obstacles. Now we're going to back down this trail. We're gonna hop in the 2-door 2-liter and see how it handles it. So here we go, we got back to the bottom of our little test hill here, this time in the 2-liter 2-door. Gonna run it again and see how much of a difference, or maybe how little of a difference, the engine makes. Here we go. So far so good again as we come up to these ledges that are, some of them as big as the tires. You get the tires set right up to it, give it a little bit of throttle, you have plenty of power to pull up and out of these little gullies between the boulders. We're pretty much at an idle just above when we need to get over something. We're not really bumping over anything. This is really that slow technical crawling. I'm pretty confident we're still not gonna make it all the way up here, but we're gonna get as far as we can here. So we did get a little bit further than we got in the 4-door with the 3.6 liter. Again, not really because of one engine over the other, really just one body style over the other. But again, running this was to show you what slow speed crawling looks like with the 3.6 liter and with the 2-liter engine. Both of them performed very, very well on this hill. What we're gonna do now is go up to a hill where it requires a little bit more wheel speed and see how one engine performs versus the other in that type of scenario. All right, so this is going to be the 3rd obstacle here. Pretty snowy hill, expecting a good bit of wheel slip here, so I'm gonna get the RPM up, see how the 3.6 liter feels up in that slightly higher RPM range. So here we go. Well, I would say that's a pretty good test of a little bit more wheel speed. It's really interesting what these newer Jeeps do to modulate the RPM for you while you're trying to get out of an obstacle there. So I was on the throttle, working the wheel back and forth a little bit. I knew there was a big ledge there to my right that I didn't want into the door, so I was being a little bit careful, but even as I was in the RPM, the Jeep was dropping RPM for me, changing things up, which is really interesting. The 3.6 liters still had plenty of torque once I did find some traction there to pull me up and out of that little stuck spot. So now we'll head back down the hill and hop in the 2-liter to try that out. So we're gonna head up the same obstacle now in the 2-liter and see how that feels. Again, gonna probably end up in the same situation, a little bit of wheel speed, kind of searching for the grip, and see how it goes. Here we go. Go. Looks like we are up and over. So again, I noticed a lot of the same things as I did with the 3.6 liter. The engine RPM is really more controlled by the ECU than anything else. Even though I was on the throttle, working the wheel back and forth, trying to find that grip, the RPM was being modulated sort of for me by the ECU. But eventually, once I did find that grip, more than enough torque, more than enough power to pull us up and out of that hole, up over those ledges. It was really more of a traction issue than a power issue. Both engines felt like they had more than enough power to get us through this obstacle, even at the higher RPM that we were working in and the higher wheel speeds. So I know a lot of you came here expecting me to tell you which one of these Jeeps you should buy if you plan on doing a lot of off-roading, either the new 2-liter turbo or the redesigned 3.6 liter from the JK. And the answer is They're both really, really good. I think we showed you from the tests today, either in a low RPM, a high RPM, a little bit of a mix, that both of these Jeeps are going to perform very, very well for you. Now, if you're in a situation where you're on the road, you're accelerating from a stop, you're merging onto a highway, the additional power that you get, more specifically the additional torque that you get from the 2-liter turbo is going to be really, really useful for you, and you're also going to get some other benefits like fuel mileage with that 2.0. But the test today was off-road, and I have to say these are very, very evenly matched. If you were making a decision just based off of a test like we did today, it would be really hard to find a clear winner. Now, all of that being said, both of these Jeeps are still bone stock. Once you get big tires, gears, a bunch of armor involved, that may change where the power band sits, and you may get a little bit more of a clear winner one way or the other once you do that. Speaking of all of that, this is probably the last time you're going to see this little 2-door bone stock like this. We are going to be adding all of those things I just mentioned and a lot more. So make sure you comment below and let me know what you think I should be doing with my 2-liter 2-door in the build that is coming very, very soon. And of course, as always, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you can check out more JL videos and some more of the best Jeep content out there.